BYU has a solid roster this year, and I think they're a team that a lot of people are underrating. But just looking at the schedule, it is going to be really tough for them to compete in the Big 12 just because they play, I think, either all four or all five of the top teams in the conference. The schedule really just didn't set up well for BYU. But that being said, it's still definitely going to be possible for them to at least make a bowl game, especially if they can pull off an upset or two against one of those better schools. Other than that first game against Southern Illinois, the non-conference really isn't that easy either. That second game is a road trip to new ACC team SMU. Friday game. It's going to be real difficult. SMU's a solid team. Definitely a game that I don't expect BYU to get blown out in. That one's still going to be a good game, but SMU will definitely have the advantage, especially at home. This Wyoming game is also not one to overlook either. Wyoming's not going to be one of the teams that's competing for the Group of Five playoff spot, but they're going to be a solid 7, 8, maybe 9 win team in the Mountain West. They'll be really good. They have the home field advantage. This isn't a game that's a guarantee for BYU, although they should be able to get a win. The start of Big 12 play is a real tough matchup with Kansas State. This game is at home, but this is a solid Kansas State team. Really tough to see BYU winning this game, even though they are at home. The road trip to Baylor is probably their first winnable Big 12 game. That one is going to be tough still, but I'm not really too high on this Baylor team. I do think this is one that BYU could definitely take on the road. Following the bye week, things really don't get much easier with both Arizona and Oklahoma State at home, two of the top teams in the conference. Both are going to have excellent offenses, and it's really difficult to see BYU keeping up on the scoreboard. The road trip to UCF is also going to be a really tough game. This is a speedy UCF team. And the fact that they have home field advantage, there's really not much going for BYU in this game. It's a game they might be able to compete in, but in the end, I do think UCF will be able to pull away. After the second bye week, a road trip to Utah is just a brutal way to start the last stretch of the season. This is an excellent Utah team, much more talented than BYU, so they will get that win at home. Kansas at home is going to be a tough game for BYU again. Jalen Daniels is an excellent quarterback. His dual threat ability makes the Kansas offense very dangerous. This one's another one where I just can't quite see BYU keeping up on the scoreboard. But these last two games are probably the easiest two Big 12 games they have all year, with a road trip to Arizona State and a home game against Houston. Both of those schools we have finishing near the bottom of the conference, so these should be wins for BYU. They'll definitely be favored in both of those games. The home and away games are an even split with 6 apiece. And with 4 opponents being ranked in our rank and file top 25, BYU has a schedule difficulty of 6.5 out of 10. So taking a look at the prediction, we do have them beating Southern Illinois in that first game pretty handily, but losing to SMU on the road as their only non-conference loss. They'll bounce back with that win over Wyoming to move to 2-1 heading into Big 12 play. The game against Kansas State, though, like I mentioned, is just a brutal way to start the conference play. Kansas State's a great team. They should be able to win that one on the road and drop BYU to 2-2. The road trip to Baylor could be the first Big 12 win. We do have BYU as slight favorites, even though they're on the road, and we do have them pulling off that win. But things get much tougher after that. This stretch from October 12th to November 16th with Arizona, Oklahoma State, a road trip to UCF, a road trip to Utah, and Kansas at home is just super, super difficult. We do, unfortunately for BYU, have them losing all 5 of those games. Arizona State and Houston will both be wins to close out the year, but not quite enough to make a bowl game. But here's the thing with BYU. They have the potential to win a few of these games we have them losing. They could win at SMU. That'll be a tough one for sure, but it's not out of the question. They could definitely win on the road at UCF. Another one that's not completely out of the question. Kansas State or Kansas, maybe they pull off one of those two. You could see BYU as high as 8-4. I really think that they could even get 7, 8 wins. But we are going to stick with 5-7 as our prediction. The projected record sits pretty close to 500 at 5.9 and 6.1, which is considerably higher than FPI, who has BYU at under 5 wins, 4.8 and 7.2, with only a 0.6% chance to make the playoffs. That does seem about right. With this stretch of games, Arizona all the way down to Kansas, it is really tough to see BYU winning. They'd probably have to win 4 of those games in order to compete for a playoff spot. So that one's really just not going to happen for BYU this season. But thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in our next video.